Uh, Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're across this great world of ours. I'm going to elaborate more about uh, the reservations and the impact the American reservations has on the United States. And the point of this is that we're dealing with a system that was created well into the 19th century. Remember when uh, uh, the reservations were created, they were first under the Secretary of War Department. In other words, the 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 reservations were conducted by so and so called back then. We're talking about anywhere from 1830s, well into the 1880s, 1890s, was the cavalry by the United States. So, in other words, the Department of War is one that would sit and be part of the reservations. And it was well into the uh, uh, after the setup of the Interior Department, where the reservations under the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the BIA, was moved into the Interior Department. And even under the Bureau of Indian Affairs, um, this became an issue because actually, like I said, there's still the issue when they created the Interior Department, and they have like Bureau of Land Management, the national parks, um, et cetera, et cetera. I believe part of that might even be mining. And the other aspect of this is the Department of Agriculture, which heads up the Department of Forestry, for example. So, in essence, the Forestry Department is not really under the Interior Department, it's under the Department of Forestry. So, all this was created well into the early 20th century. And there was a thing under the Franklin Delano Roosevelt, under the Harold Ickes, where there was talk or discussion made about moving all this into a new system where the BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Park Service Forestry would have been under the reworking of that system, where they would be under like an environmental type of setup, not necessarily two different setups. And that never materialized because it takes Congress to make those changes, or it would take a presidential order, and neither one did accomplish this. So in essence, what we're dealing with here is an issue on how the Department of or the Bureau of Indian Affairs is still under the reservation. And the point that I've made, and it's my research that I've done onto this, when we under the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and they have regional offices, sometimes there is a duplication of work. We've lately been hearing that we need to stream down or streamline departments within the government, and the issue becomes, are we duplicating the efforts to help reservations? And my contention has been and will always be that the reservations need to be empowered by themselves and not dictated by Washington, D.C., but actually dictated by necessarily moving the Bureau of Indian Affairs and actually creating regional offices. And then these offices come up with a schooling system, jobs welfare. And I believe some of this goes on, but I don't think to the extent that it could be on. And consequently, some of this could also be to create social programs for these reservations, in which, like I said, I think some of this goes on. And the contention has always been the casinos. But when we talk about the casinos, some of, some of this was the casinos were supposed to help reservations with the social aspect of it, social programs within the reservations. Well, we now have a saturation of casinos within the United States, and so most of the reservations now are either maxed out or losing revenue on the casinos. So my contention has been to reform these to where we can get housing, adequate housing, and adequate forms of plumbing, water control, and everything else like that on the reservations itself. And the point that comes out of this is we're just like kicking the can, and I hate to use that cliche, we're kicking the can down the road and not really addressing the issues of how to better life on the reservations, but just getting this existence on there. And like I said, the issues that I see is high unemployment, dropout rates in high school, dropout rates not many as many that can finish college, and the point out of that is how do you improve people's lives? It's education, education, education. So it's just you need to educate and make people better in their lives. And how do you make people better in your lives is you educate them and give them the feeling that they empower. Now, the structure, like I said, is typically not there, in a sense that a lot of these reservations are still struggling or below the poverty level or in isolated areas. Some of them have to take in water, services, social services, roads are inadequate, water is inadequate. So the issue becomes, do we force people again off the reservations and put them in high populated areas or in areas where they can obtain these areas? Or my contention is take the areas, take the revenue that is within the regional office and convert those into areas that can enhance the development of reservations. And the point is, a lot of the reservations exist west of the Mississippi as well. The issue becomes here, it's out of sight, out of mind for many of the eastern states, such as Ohio, Kentucky, North Carolina, though North Carolina have the Cherokee. But for the most part, most of the majority of the reservations exist in states like Arizona, New Mexico, and California, and not necessarily in states, like I said, like Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania. Though there are some, they are limited in their availability of social, and they're mostly out of just the casino issue. But there again, I've been still, and I still to this day have an issue about the casinos, because really we're at that point that once the Gen X, the boomers die out, the interest in gaming is not necessarily there for the millennials and the Gen Z. So we're looking at an issue similar to Social Security, where there's not going to be the funds there, and these people are still going to be a daily existence. And as a society, Herbert, we're judged by how we treat people in their young age, their middle age, and at their twilight years. And my feeling is that we're missing the boat on this, and we need to move things forward in a more positive way and get rid of an antiquated, out of date, out of system Native American reservation system. And like I said, I don't necessarily have all the answers, and necessarily you get a think tank of people together, they would probably come up with a solution that would be fair. And like I said, the issue becomes not necessarily what is right for the tribal leaders and the leaders of the tribes, or the chiefs or the leadership within the tribes itself, and those have to be taken in consideration. But then you have to deal with the corruption on that too. So because just sticking more money into a situation leads to more corruption as well. So there's got to be a check and balances that exist and moving things forward so that people on the low end of on a reservation as well, families that they're having no water or no existence and can't afford uh, anything, because really when you think about it, it's cheaper to buy a McDonald's cheeseburger than it is to buy healthy food. So that in itself is an issue. But like I said, a lot of these reservations are isolated, and they have to drive sometimes an hour, 2 hours to go to a Walmart or a grocery store. So these are situations that need to be addressed and need to be addressed as soon as possible. So anyway, these are foods for thoughts about this. So anyway, the point here is I'm trying to get the message out. Though this is the time, and I feel this is time because we're having this discussion about issues concerning budgets and consolidating things, and this whole information about IT and how to develop things. So anyway, please like and subscribe my channel. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at bthomasmillerpsych. That's bthomasmillerpsych@gmail.com. And I do have a couple books available, like Water Quality on the Reservation. Don't buy that lottery ticket. Lower diminishing returns of the casinos. And then I also have Native American and Injustice Mindset. So there's some books that I do have available that are on Amazon that are self-published. Anyway, thanks, folks, and hope to talk to you real soon. Have a nice day. Bye.